We will begin in just a few minutes. We will begin in just a few minutes. We will begin in just a few minutes. Is this any better? Is my voice still at an appropriate level? I want to talk a little bit about the technique I'm using right here. So the way that I'm choosing what note to play is really strange. I actually have 3 LFOs running on this Dopefer module. I have them set to different amounts of mix on the mixer module next to it. It's a DC coupled mixer. So I'm adding them together. It's almost like the valves on a trumpet, where you have a short and a middle, and then the other one is equivalent to the first 2 added together. I didn't tune them exactly like that, but they're each just a small amount of voltage. It's summing together, and then that is becoming the pitch input for the oscillator. So since those LFOs are running at different rates, you're getting different combinations of those added together, which is something similar to an arpeggiator, although made with a much more primitive method. I'll talk just a little bit about my equipment. I have a Behringer Neutron semi-modular synth up here. On top of that, I have a Korg SQ1 sequencer. I'm not using either of those in this patch. Underneath that, I have a nifty case by Create Audio. It's the case that I got when I first started getting into modular, and it seems like it was a pretty good deal to begin with. It came in a bundle with a couple other modules that I'm not using anymore, but they were decent for starting out with. I built a wooden frame with some scrap wood to hold the nifty case up off the table, and originally I had a second nifty case that was down where I have the large case now, and I had the Neutron originally in the diagonal position in between the upper case and the lower. The wooden frame still remains, but I've moved the Neutron up to the top, and I added Velcro to the sides, so I can attach this CV OCD here. These are no longer available, but it is a MIDI to CV converter that I sometimes use. I'm also not using that in this patch. In fact, the only module in the middle case that I'm using right now is a mixer as part of my output, and you could say I'm barely using that at all. My main case is an Arturia Rack Brute 6U. I really feel like this is one of the best starter cases available. The price ends up being just slightly more than the Nifty case, but the amount of space available is twice as much. And the MIDI features on the Nifty case, which I originally was excited about, to me have proven to be buggy, and the output's not that great either. So I really don't use those at all. So I probably should have started with a Rack Brute, but you learn as you go. In the back you can see a small MIDI USB keyboard. Trying to remember the name right now. That's not the Arturia. It's the other brand that is inexpensive. APK. I think it's APK. It's pretty good, but it only has USB out, and I'm tending to do things not so much involving the computer anymore. So I don't get it involved as often as I used to. I might be replacing it at some point. However, if I'm running through a computer, and I am when I'm streaming, I could plug into to USB there and have that go out to my Scarlett audio interface, which is hiding behind the modular rig right now, and that's how I'm getting audio into the computer for the stream. I'll talk on a future stream about what modules I have. I've just been rearranging the cases recently, so I have a lot of empty spaces right now that I need to fill with either blank panels or put some different modules in there. So I don't intend to leave those open, but right now they are. I've also been designing some modules of my own that I will talk about on a future stream. You see one of those right here on the bottom left corner, and it's currently something that I'm still designing. It's not quite finished. The software is not completely written for it. However, I guess I could do a small demo to show that it's at least partially functional. I'll plug something into let's see, into the LFO. See, you don't want to let the cable drop into the bus board like I just did. That's bad business. But if I plug in here, it's now measuring the voltage on that cable, and it rises when there's positive and lowers from this midpoint here when there is negative. And each of these keys measures 1 volt worth of voltage, power, and it also has a red LED here that is detecting whether there is something plugged into the gate input. So if I plug this into the gate instead of the CV, the red LED turns off. And then whenever it hits a certain level of positive voltage, the green LED turns on instead. Currently, it's only doing input and display. The outputs are awaiting some software development. And I'll explain what the purpose of the module is when that's ready to demo. That won't be my only module, hopefully. It's been a lot of fun learning to design. I'm new at circuit board design, so I've only done a couple so far. I also have a passive attenuator right above here with 3 inputs and outputs and 3 potentiometers. probably build a patch from scratch on one of my next streams. This one is just a test to get things started and see how the camera positions and audio inputs and everything are working. I was thinking about the Kabbalah earlier, how the story of divine light descending, emanating through the Sephirot shattered them one at a time until it came down to Yesod, which was able to just barely receive the light that was excess before shattering and allowing light to fall into Malkut, which represents this material world, which was then able to bear the light received. And I was thinking how this is really akin to filters. We create harsh waveforms out of an oscillator that are fierce and would shatter symbolically the ears of the listener and not be seen as musical. They're too powerful. And through the use of filters of different sorts, we can coax gentler sounds out of these waveforms by viewing a piece of them rather than the whole thing. A lot of times people use a light metaphor for the Sephirah as if the divine light shines through a prism and divides into different colors. A VCF is basically the same thing but with sound. We're splitting out a portion of the sound, amplifying part of it to be perceived while we ignore the rest. Thank you for joining me on this Eurorack Jam stream today. I'll see if I can save it in the archives on the YouTube channel. This has been Daughter of Voice, Eurorack Jam Session for December 16th, 2022. I'll be streaming again in just a couple of days.